The Razer Blade 15 was already the smallest gaming notebook in the world. Building an even smaller version with the Razer Blade 14 is an exciting endeavor, on one hand. On the other hand, we had serious concerns about how Razer would keep these components cool enough. Add an AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX processor and an NVIDIA RTX 3080, and you have the potential for a hot mess. Fortunately, the Razer Blade 14 is anything but. Razer has done the impossible and delivers a fantastic gaming experience in a tiny form factor. With a lower starting price of $1,800, there's little reason to go for the Razer Blade 15, as its smaller sibling has stolen the crown from what was once the best gaming laptop. A new king has arrived. So this video is for the king. We'll talk all about it, and if you love videos like this, you should definitely subscribe to our channel, Bright Hustle. And if you did, let's see why this laptop is so good. Let's start with the design. Despite its smaller size and lower price, it looks almost exactly like the Razer Blade 15, with the same all-black aluminum chassis, a green snake logo on the lid, and hardly any large vents or flashy design elements. It's the same kind of minimalist gaming laptop with amazing build quality that has always characterized the Razer Blade series. It's not for nothing that these laptops are called the MacBooks of gaming laptops. The most important change in the Razer Blade 14 is, of course, the size of the screen. The 14-inch gaming laptop is a new trend, led by popular options like the ROG Zephyrus G14 and the Predator Triton 300 SE. This is not the first 14-inch Razer Blade. There was a model back in 2013. But aside from the actual screen size, this new version has little to do with the 2013 model. The processor, graphics, and cooling technology have finally caught up with the demand for smaller gaming laptops, and the 2021 Razer Blade 14 is the answer to that desire. However, a smaller screen also means a smaller footprint, so we were a bit unsure if this notebook would be able to keep the components cool enough during this review. The Razer Blade 14 is the thinnest 14-inch gaming notebook and the smallest in terms of volume, just 0.66 inches thick and 3.9 pounds. That makes it an insanely portable gaming laptop, especially considering how powerful this little device really is. Because of its size, it also makes a great regular laptop. It's only 0.08 inches thicker than the Dell XPS 13 and only 0.03 inches thicker than the MacBook Air. That's an incredible technical achievement. Of course, Razer already makes the Razer Blade Stealth 13 and Razer Book 13, if you really just want the Razer design without the performance. But the Razer Blade 14 feels like a notebook that can do it all again without sacrificing much in the way of portability, design, or performance. As you can see from many of the photos, the Razer Blade 14 is an absolute magnet for fingerprints. That's always been the case with these black Razer blades, which is why we wish the Mercury White option was offered on the 14-inch model. The recent update to the Razer Blade 15 attempted to fix this issue with a fingerprint-resistant coating, but the Razer Blade 14 does not have that. And ports might be crucial for you too, just like it is for us. The Razer Blade 14 has a good selection of ports. On the left side are USB-C, USB-A, a headphone jack, and Razer's own charging port. On the right side, there's another USB-A, another USB-C, and even HDMI 2.1. HDMI will likely be the primary method of docking the Razer Blade 14 to a monitor, although both USB-C ports also offer DisplayPort 1.4 and power delivery. When gaming, however, you'll want to use Razer's own charger, which has a nicely braided cable that connects to a 230-watt power supply. It's big for a notebook this size, but when you have power-hungry components like this, it's unavoidable. We would have liked to see Razer include a full SD card slot like on the Blade 15, which is handy for photographers and videographers. The Razer Blade 14 also features Wi-Fi 6E and Bluetooth 5.2 for the latest wireless connectivity. The display is the hardest to change, so of course we will talk about it. The Razer Blade 14 is on par with the 15-inch model in terms of screen quality. It is a 16:9 1440p IPS display with a refresh rate of 165 Hz. That's both a high resolution and a high refresh rate, which is the best of both worlds. This is no surprise, as this is increasingly becoming the norm for gaming laptops. The image quality is the real surprise. The Razer Blade 14 features fantastic color saturation, hitting 90% of the Adobe RGB and 100% of the sRGB color space, which is basically unheard of for gaming laptops. Color accuracy is also perfect, and the maximum brightness is 315 nits. That's not nearly as bright as the Lenovo Legion 5 Pro, which is the brightest gaming laptop we've ever tested. Would we liked it to look more like the Razer Book 13 with its 16:10 screen and small bottom bezel? Absolutely. A taller screen would have allowed for a smaller bottom bezel and more screen real estate without shrinking the overall footprint. For now, Razer seems happy with the 16:9 format of its gaming laptops. Despite our preference for thin bezels, it's hard to complain about a screen that looks this good. Now, performance is where the fun really begins. We never doubted that the Razer Blade 14 would be a beautiful, well-built laptop. We were really concerned about the performance and heat generation. But once we picked up the Razer Blade 14, many of those fears quickly evaporated. In some ways, the Razer Blade 14 is actually more powerful than its larger sibling. That's because of the processor inside, the AMD Ryzen 9 5900HX with 8 cores and 16 threads. In terms of pure performance, this is the king of gaming laptop processors. The fact that it finally has a home in the Razer lineup is an important moment for AMD. We know Cinebench isn't the be-all and end-all of processor performance, but it's amazing to see this Ryzen chip in the Razer Blade 14 blow the Razer Blade 15 out of the water with this benchmark. Speaking of graphics cards, our configuration was equipped with the RTX 3070. It's still hard to imagine that you could also fit an RTX 3080 here if you wanted to. The 3060 is the base model, which is still pretty impressive, but in other laptops we've tested, there's a big jump in performance between the 3060 and the 3070. In either case, a full 100 watts of power is fed to the GPU, which again is why I was so concerned about the temperatures. As far as cooling goes, Razer has done the impossible. But we'll just say this, Razer has pulled it off. You get really good gaming performance even in 1440p, and we never saw GPU temperatures above 87 degrees Celsius. That's not exactly what I'd call cool, but for a notebook this size and with this much power, we're impressed. There's a huge vapor chamber here that covers just all of the innards, and it's reportedly even larger than the 15-inch model. There are also some new fans inside, each with 88.1mm fan blades. Of course, the huge vapor chamber means you can't swap out the RAM, but it protects the performance and thermals that make the Razer Blade 14 such an excellent gaming laptop. Fortunately, all configurations of the Razer Blade 14 come with a 16GB of dual-channel memory RAM and a full terabyte SSD. And the keyboard, touchpad side, is a good extra when it's made well. Everything else is as you'd expect from a Razer notebook. The keyboard and touchpad are both great, and the per-key RGB backlighting is as customizable as it gets with its 15 brightness levels. That sounds excessive, but compared to the 3 or 4 levels that many gaming laptops offer, we can't complain. Razer has even included some nice touches like the Windows Hello IR camera above the screen and some decent speakers. They radiate upward and are THX certified, which basically just means THX helps test them to make sure they don't distort at a high volume. The result is decent speakers for watching videos or listening to music. Unfortunately, the fan noise interferes with enjoying the speakers while gaming. And with that, all we can say is that we hope you found a great laptop you can buy. Also, for more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Bright Hustle. And if you did, we'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.